Honest Abe here from Smokin' Cigars. It is that time of year again, the Great Smoke 2023 Mardi Gras Madness. If you're wondering why everybody last year was calling it the best cigar event in the country, it was evident the day tickets went on sale. VIP tickets sold out in one day. That's right. They are all gone. Don't message us. Don't PM us. I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do. But there are still plenty of general admission tickets and virtual tickets. Once again, we'll be offering this event virtually as well as live. So for those of you who can't make it down, you'll be able to enjoy the festivities from the comfort of your own home. Michael Herklotz, Kim Keeney, and Paul DeGracco will be returning to be your co-hosts for your virtual experience. Whether you're coming down live or going to be enjoying the event from the comfort of your own home, your ticket price includes this epic package. It's one of our greatest Great Smoke packages in the history of this event. Over $400 worth of product and great swag for the low cost of $165. If you're coming down live, you'll get your package the day of the event. If you order your virtual ticket, they'll start shipping weeks prior to the event in early March. For those of you coming down, we have 4 full epic days of fun. We start off with Drew Estate and Jonathan Drew. Thursday night, our headquarters here in Boynton Beach. Friday night, 2 events. Steve Saka here at headquarters, and Evan Darnell once again returns to host our pre-event dinner with the Red Meat Lovers Club. Going off the top this year. I've seen the menu. It'll be up on the site soon. Incredible dinner. And our feature host this year, Michael Herklotz of Ferio Tego Cigars, who's made a very special cigar, especially for those attending the pre-event dinner. Saturday morning, we are starting early with the first ever tailgate party being hosted by the distinguished Druffius and Eric Espinosa. There'll be a very special cigar made exclusively for that event for the first 100 attendees who go to the tailgate party. And of course, the main event will be Saturday afternoon. And then that night, after the main event, you can head back to our headquarters here, where we'll have the man himself, Boofy Matt Booth, Room 101 Cigars, capping it all off with a beautiful Sunday brunch once again before everybody goes home from what we hope will be another historically, epically fun weekend. Do not hesitate. Tickets are selling this year faster than ever. Go to www.thegreatsmoke.com and get your live general admission ticket, your virtual ticket if you're going to enjoy from home, and tickets for either the dinner or the brunch. Epic time. We can't wait to see you all there. The Great Smoke 2023. Mardi Gras Madness.
Hey everybody, it's Ryan from Rocky Mountain Cigar Show here. Welcome back to the very first show of 2023. This is going to be a hell of a year. Heck, last 2 years, I'm glad to see 2022 go by the wayside, but I'm a little nervous depending on what outlets you read about 2023 moving forward. But anyways, big shout out to all of the show sponsors that make this show possible. The big man Abe himself over there at Smokin' Cigars. We have BAMF, ROCF, Christoph, New Air, Humidors, Sagrado, McAuliffe, as well as Axe and Oak. And tonight I will be drinking the cask strength release of Axe and Oak's Bourbon. Looking very forward to lighting up for the first time the 10-year, which is a cigar that I just couldn't wait anymore. I'm actually doing a live review of this cigar on my other show with Danny Ravanelli, a 505 Cigar Review, next or Tuesday the 24th, and we're going to have Juan on himself, but I just couldn't wait anymore. And how often do you get to have dojo guys on your show? You got to smoke a cigar with them. So nobody came here to talk to me or to look at me. Everybody came here to look and hear you talk, Eric. So how are you doing today, Eric? Thank you so much for coming on.
I'm glad to be on. Thanks for having us. As you can see, Jordan's excited to be on the show. He's raring to go right there. How you doing, Jordan? Dang, he's quiet. Anyways, I'm pumped to be on the show, Ryan. Thank you for having me. I'm doing good. Looking forward to a fun evening.
Absolutely. So I want to kind of start way back when now, it feels is 3 years ago now. When I first reached out to you when I did my show, you gave me, won't tell anybody what the advice was that you gave me, because trust me, it's dojo top secret master sensei advice. But the advice that you gave me absolutely still rings true today. And on top of it, you have been so kind to befriend me, have me on, not as a guest on the show for Dojo. No real reason to have me on anyways, but in the background several times, you've invited me up and been so kind to let me come into the studio. So what does Dojo have in store for 2023, and what are your thoughts on 2022?
Oh wow, it's a big question.
We're starting out strong.
So 2023, we've got some trips lined up already. We're going to the Perdomo factory in February, and then in March we have a dojo trip to Camp Camacho in Honduras. That's the trip that actually got canceled a couple times because of COVID. So we're finally getting that one, back in line. And then other than that, we got some releases planned as normal, some cigar releases that we're working on that we're really excited about. Tough to follow up this past year because being our 10th year and all, we had some pretty cool releases, but we try to do 5 or 6 a year. And so next year, or this year, I guess I should say now, 2023 should be no different. We also have some cool products in the pipeline. I know a lot of guys have been asking about this. I'll see if I can show it. I don't want to spill my ashes, but this crystal ashtray.
Ooh.
We've had this thing done, and we just haven't had time. We keep getting distracted by stuff, and right now we're in the middle of our Cigar of the Year stuff. But this will come online soon, and then I have some other products that are some other accessory products, dojo accessory products that are pretty cool. That should be done in the next month or so. So yeah, lots going on as usual, and looking forward to a fun year.
That ashtray looks mighty nice.
Yeah, those came out cool.
Yeah, those definitely came out really cool. So you had brought up, by the way, I don't normally start my show just diving right in. I normally let the guests introduce themselves, but if they don't know who you are at this point in time, I don't even know why they're watching me, because whoever's watching me is watching you. So, but really quick, for those that maybe catch this show that don't watch Dojo, give a quick little introduction and background into Dojo, where to find you, and when are your shows on.
So the dojo is our main thing is cigardojo.com, which is a website where we do cigar reviews and news and that kind of stuff. It's your typical cigar blog, although we believe it's very good, so hopefully you like it as well. We try very hard to make it quality. And then sort of the next aspect of the dojo is dojoverse.com, which is our social platform, and that's where you can earn your cigar black belt. You just check into cigars, participate, have a good time, and earn all sorts of prizes and belts and badges and whatnot. It's pretty fun. And then finally, we have 2 podcasts. We do Flavor Odyssey every Wednesday, and that's hosted by Randy Griggs and Robbie Raz, and that's where they pair cigars with drinks. And that's a really fun show. That's like 4 years. I think this is the 4th year for that show now. And then finally, Smoke Night Live every Friday night, which is our show where sometimes we interview people, sometimes we just do silly stuff. Really, mainly it's just a way to have the community get together on Friday nights and have some fun. So those are sort of all the aspects of the dojo.
Fantastic. And since you had brought up releases, can you tell everybody what I'm smoking and a little bit about this cigar?
So yeah, that's a tenure. It's sort of a play on. It was our 10-year anniversary in 2022, and we had several 10-year releases. But we always do a police, a law enforcement themed release with the Protocol Boys, with Juan and Kevin. And in the middle of the night, I was awoke with a cold sweat, Ryan, a cold sweat, and I had this idea about police officers. They get, if they're with the department long enough, they receive tenure, and so it just was a neat kind of play on tenure. And so we started working on that about, I don't know, 11 months ago or so. That came out in November. It was a release at Famous Smoke Shop in Easton, Pennsylvania, and it was very limited, sold out very fast. It's a really nice box press, or kind of semi box press Toro. Really tasty. I think it's a blend that Hector came up with, and I think if you have it, it's one of those ones that you like right off the bat, right off the get go, as soon as you light it. So I think folks would like it. You give it a shot, but they're all sold out, so you have to get one from somebody else.
Dojo Black Market. I think there's a group for that. On Dojo Verse. Actually, no, I'm just kidding.
I think there is.
Oh, there might very well be. You have a whole lot inside of the Dojo Verse world. And but let's kind of go way back. So I kind of dug into YouTube's dojo history, and by the way you guys started out with the videos, you could see obviously the huge progression of quality to what you are now in the Dojo Verse Studios, which is a huge building. Everybody, it's massive. It's gold everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But you actually just redid your studio last year, and you come a long way since the start of Dojo.
Oh yeah.
So I've always wanted to ask you this question, but I wanted to save it for my show. Are you surprised by the success and launch off, and kind of how you guys have become a household name inside of the cigar world that probably wasn't on the mindset when you started this, right?
No, not at all. I mean, we actually started it just to kind of have fun with our own sort of cigar smoking experience. I just so happen that this is the sort of the industry that I've been in my whole life, is websites and SEO and multimedia and that kind of thing, and building online communities. That was my area of expertise. And so when we started a website called quickcigarreviews.com, and it was really just to catalog our own cigar smoking experience, but it kind of got popular. But we didn't like that name, quickcigarreviews.com. And so Jordon actually came up with the name Cigar Dojo. And then about 6 months after that, we started the app, which at the time was an actual app in the App Store and all that, back before Apple kicked us out. But anyways, that the app really kind of like set the ball in rolling. Like that was sort of the thing that we kind of got known for, was the app, because at the time there was the only thing that really existed was cigar forums online, and we were always really frustrated with the forums, just because of the style of the community. They're bulky, and the conversations get so in depth and intertwined that you kind of lose sort of just the fun of hanging out. And so we wanted the dojo just to be sort of more of just like a hanging out kind of a place. Hey, look what I'm smoking. Look what I'm smoking. Hey, I like that one. Did you like that one? That kind of thing. And so I think it really resonated, especially in today's world, in social media, the way social media is. And so, so to answer your question, am I surprised? Yeah, I mean, I still feel like, we're just a couple of dudes trying to do the best we can, having a good time, meeting a lot of fun people. I hope that people enjoy it, and I hope that they like what we do. But yeah, I guess the biggest surprise is that that this is what me and Jordon do for a living. Like I wouldn't have predicted that, Ryan. I kind of figured that maybe, this could be something cool that we do, but I didn't ever envision that we'd be doing it full time.
I mean, that's gotta, like, again, looking back, going into my third year. What do you think set you guys apart in the beginning to other shows? Because you weren't the first show. There was other shows that have been around. I think Cigar Authority is one of the very, very first of the quote unquote cigar podcasts. But why do you think a lot of shows have come and gone since you have started, but you guys just are on a steam engine down to cigar history at this point?
Yeah, I mean, as far as our show, our show goes, Smoke Night Live, it's crazy because when we first started doing it, we were just doing it on Google Hangouts, and I remember the first time. I'm trying to remember. Seems like the first time we did it, we decided, hey, we have this thing called the Dojo Hall of Fame, and that's where we induct dojo members that really participate a lot, or maybe they help a lot behind the scenes. And so every year or so we induct 5 people into this Hall of Fame. And I remember we said, hey, let's do this. We'll just do this live, we'll announce the names live on Google Hangouts, and that'll be fun. And so we did that, and people were like, hey, that was really fun. You should do that more often. You should have live shows more often. And so then I think we did our Cigar of the Year awards announcement that same year live. And then that's sort of just how it started. It was we didn't even have, it was kind of difficult to have guests and stuff back then because like I said, it was just Google Hangouts. There wasn't really good podcasting tools or broadcasting tools. And if there was, we certainly didn't have them. And so we were just goofing around, and so then over the years, we try to upgrade a little bit every year, try to make it a little bit better every single year. We just this week, got a really nice brand new, I thought we had a nice mixer until we got this soundboard, because this soundboard is incredible. But so yeah, the stuff like that, we just try to update it, and I hope people like it. We've never been too super serious. Maybe that's why people like it, I guess, is we try not to take ourselves too seriously. And I think people just like hanging out on Friday night with us, talking about cigars and being goofy for an hour and getting to escape from the stress and pressure of life for just a little bit on a Friday night.
No, and I completely agree with you. I think you hit it nail on the head. It's the Friday night, and let's be honest, most of the guys that are the hardcore cigar quote unquote geeks or tobacco nuts, they have families. They're not going to the bars Friday night. So you give them that ability to sit there with a glass of bourbon, tell their family to leave them alone while they smoke a cigar and enjoy their show. And that's what you guys have been able to really, really capitalize on. And honestly, have given people like myself and several others in this kind of something to follow and gauge an understanding on watching you and kind of learning from that. And being in studio, I'm always asking Jordon, what's this and what's that? And what are you guys using? And what are you doing with this? And he's always been so kind to fill me in on that. But Bruce actually has a question here.
Yes,
and I
Bruce.
think I asked you this before, and I'm not sure if you had a definitive number. But how many people are on the Dojo verse?
So before we got kicked off of Apple, when we had the old app, which was available at the App Store for Apple and Google, there was 57,000 registered members. So then when we redid everything, which was 2 years ago, and basically started from scratch, a big, huge portion of those registrations on the old app, you could just log in with your Twitter or your Facebook account. Like you didn't even need to create, your own user account. Now you could if you wanted to. So some people did that, but a lot of those accounts were people just using their Twitter and Facebook. But when we redeveloped, we scraped out all of those Twitter and Facebook accounts because those platforms were being really picky about us being a cigar app. So we scraped all those away. So now we're back up to over 27,000 registered members on the dojo.
Jeez, that is a ton. I mean, that is a huge chunk of the cigar community. I think that is a pretty substantial chunk of the cigar community, as far as the hardcore cigar community, for sure.
Yeah, and obviously there's a really hardcore group of members that are on there every single day.
Steve Toth.
Yeah, Steve and guys like that. But what's crazy, Ryan, is the crazy thing about hey, look at that. The crazy thing about some of this is you would be shocked about when I'm like traveling and whatnot, and talking to cigar people that are guys in the industry, big time guys that everybody would know. Here's Jordon.
Hey, buddy.
Jordon has arrived. Anyways,
yo.
You'd be shocked at how many of these guys, even if they're not registered on the Dojoverse, they read the Dojoverse and they're familiar with the characters. They know the Steve Toths. They know Barry. They know Beans. Like, they know these guys. They read their posts and they follow the goofy stuff that goes on the dojo. So, the registered members isn't even a full picture of what goes on in the community. There's a lot of people that just kind of watch.
So, do you know the amount of traffic, the variance between your website to me? I guess let me back up and ask the question a different way. What is your website traffic like in comparison to Dojoverse? Do you know how many people are coming in that are also Dojo members? Is there a way for you guys to screen for that, or
not really? A lot of the cigardojo.com traffic is organic, and people searching for a review of a certain cigar, or in case of this week, they're looking at the cigar of the year stuff. I'm sure there's crossover, but I think cigardojo.com gets a ton of traffic because there's so much organic traffic, people searching for specific things, whereas dojoverse.com is more viral in nature. People usually find it because they see other people posting and sharing posts on Facebook or Twitter, and they want to be a part of it. Oh, I want to earn my black belt. See if I can earn my black belt. And they come in. So it's sort of a different way of we reach folks slightly differently for those two platforms, even though I'm sure there's a fair amount of crossover.
And that would be curious. I'd be curious to see. I bet you there's probably obviously more people that hit obviously the 27,000 plus people. More, your website's getting much more hits than that. But Jordon, what are you smoking tonight?
What's up? I'm
What's
sorry I'm
going on?
so late. I got so many dang kids. It's crazy.
So does your dad. Like father, like
Yeah,
son.
he's got me beat. He's got me beat. I grabbed a Protocol Taser.
Okay.
And also a Hoya Ninja Agua if I need it.
Nice. I got the 10-year. So the
Oh.
Taser is actually the closest cigar that I've ever had almost make me pop.
Oh, really?
I smoked it first thing in the morning with no breakfast, and I almost lived to regret it. Fortunately, I drank some soda really fast and calmed the stomach down after about 20 minutes, but that one set me back.
Yeah, it'll get you.
Pretty good. And I still have one left. I did contemplate smoking it, but I only have one.
Still got some zip on it, even after a couple of years, too.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one. So Jordon, now that you're here, let's get into your top 10 cigar list and kind of get into some of the criteria that you guys use, because you guys are a lot different, without naming names, than other top 10 or top 25 or top 100 or top 1,000 cigar lists that are out there. You guys base your cigar list completely on the fact that the cigar itself has to be not a new release of an old cigar, but a completely new cigar for that year.
Yeah, that is in the top 10, like the main list. It has to be new cigar, a new blend. It could be like there's times where guys will like say like the Sober Mesa Brule Blue. It was like an actually tweaked version of the blend. Like he listed that he changed some tobacco in there, so that makes it eligible because it was released that year. Whereas we also have our limited list, which we do a top 5. That one we open up to sizes. Could be a new limited size.
So what do you, Eric and Jordan, what do you guys think that makes your list stand out a little bit different? Because I follow a lot of the lists, not that I necessarily go for cigars off top 25 lists, but when I look at your list, I know I'm getting a new cigar. So outside of the new, what do you think sets your guys' ranking and what you guys kind of bring to it different from somebody else's?
Well, I guess first to answer that question, we should go back all the way to the beginning and discuss why, we wanted to make a list in the first place. Was when we first were getting into the hobby, we'd get these lists from companies. Really at the time, there was just mainly one. And it was a bit frustrating of a list because, and don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed it every year. Like when it came out, I was excited. But it was a little bit frustrating because it wasn't really the cigar of the year. It was sort of like cigars that they happened to like that year, it seemed like, because a lot of the cigars weren't even created that year. So I was like, well, I want to take this list. I want to try these cigars. Like that's the whole point of the list. I thought was like, hey, these are really good cigars. You should try them. Well, half of those cigars, some of them were Cubans. You couldn't get that. Some of them were sort of obscure, limited or whatever. Like we just wanted to make a list. Like we've always call it, right, Jordan? We always call it like a Joe six-pack list.
Right.
That's what we first started calling our list. It's like Joe six-pack list. Like this is a list of really good cigars that you could actually take into pretty much any brick and mortar, or at least, if anything, online, and order them. And so you could try them. And so that was sort of the genesis reason of our list in the first place. And then the list has evolved over the years.
Mm-hmm. I think it started at a $10 price limit.
Yeah.
Moved up to 20 eventually. And then now there's no price limit.
So, but the point is I think that hopefully the thing that differentiates our list, besides the fact that they have to be released in 2022, and me and Jordan, we're probably, people probably get sick of us on our soapbox about that issue, but it
Valid
really,
though.
it is sort of weird, right? Like, the fact that, if you had the Academy Awards and they gave Gone with the Wind Best Picture this year, like,
Be weird.
that would be weird. Like, well, you just threw in the DVD of Gone with the Wind. It really hit home this year.
Well, there was the director's cut. Yeah. It was the director's cut.
Did you get it on Blu-ray? I mean, they have some special features on that thing.
But
I think the criticism of that is that they keep making cigars year after year, and they don't keep making the same movie. But my retort to that would be that I don't have one. No, I'm just kidding. No, we're supposed to assume that they've smoked literally every cigar in existence every year. Then?
And they're just going back to the one from 2018.
Right.
I think there needs to be a list that recognizes what happened this year. Like, even if maybe in 5 years from now, some of the cigars that are on our list don't age as well. And when I don't mean age like in your humidor, I just mean they don't maybe necessarily age that well. They're not popular. In 5 years from now, maybe they don't even exist anymore, right? And so somebody could say, see, if you guys had just waited a couple of years, that cigar just fell by the wayside. Well, maybe so. But
well, we're not making a list for all time.
Right, exactly.
For that year.
We want to recognize what happened this year. It's the Cigar of the Year 2022. And everybody calls it that. They all call it that, Cigar of the Year. But they don't all recognize cigars that came out that year, which I think is just bizarre.
Yeah, it's cigars of the decade in some instances where the cigar is 10 years old.
Now, Coop, he adds like an extra year. It's fine. At least he's keeping it. At
least he follows his own rules.
He follows his own rules, and he's allowing for some some age to be put on the cigar. I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. We've just decided to keep it so that it makes sense to us mentally that it was actually released in that year. But some of the lists don't, like, even a big magazine, Not Cigar Aficionado, this year they had their number one was a cigar that came out this year, and then their number two was one that's been in a million lists for 20 straight years.
And it's not like, most of these factories don't put box dates on the box, so you're just supposed to assume that how am I supposed to find that release? Oh, it was really good this year. Well, how am I supposed to find that?
Just look for the clear cellophane.
Yeah. Right? So, and then another thing, Ryan, is we do limit it to our main list. We limit it to 10 cigars, and I kind of like that because if you're in our top 10 lists, that's a pretty good accomplishment. I mean, Jordon, we have a hard time sometimes thinking of 10 that we want to recognize, and so some of these lists are very large, and at that point you're almost
right.
just
if you're
like,
not in the top 10, then who cares? But since we separate it out, it gives a little special, you're in the top 5 limited. That's its own cool thing,
right? So go ahead.
Now, you guys are obviously worldwide, and I know one of the reasons why Cigar Aficionado puts Cubans in is because they have a European section that obviously not all the New World, quote unquote, New World cigars are available over there. You guys probably have a fairly substantial international viewership as well. Have you guys ever considered putting out a European style list or a non-US cigar with the Cubans and everything else, or do you find that not fair?
That would be cool.
Yeah, I mean,
if somebody wants to send us all those every year, I'll smoke them.
They're expensive.
There would certainly be nothing wrong with that idea at all. And we do occasionally, like even this year, there's a category. So we have, just so everybody knows, we have our top 10 regular release list. Those are regular production cigars. and then we have our top 5 limited edition list, and then we have 5 exceptional awards, and every year some of those can change a little bit. We have some flexibility there, so yeah, we would theoretically be open to that in the future, although this pretty much takes up all of our time.
Yeah, we could always start it with one of the exceptional awards being just a non-American cigar or something like that, and maybe expand it.
Now, do you guys think that adding Cubans to the list, because I know one of the things that you had said was you guys want to be able to allow your viewers, your audience to be able to go down or find these online somewhere. Do you think it's a little not fair to name a Cuban as Cigar of the Year when the vast majority of the population of the U.S. can either afford it or find it?
Well, I can't stand that. I mean, for one,
that's like the spirit of our. That's why we made the list almost.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we made our list. And for two, what's really frustrating too is, pretty much almost all the guys in the cigar industry, their families were destroyed by communism, and then you have the number one, big magazine in the nation awarding a Cuban a number one. It's kind of a kick in the, it's kind of a punch in the face to those guys, to these Cubans, these families that lost everything. So, I don't like it. If there was like a separate category, just like, oh, here's the best Cuban of the year. Okay, fine. But, putting a Cuban in front of somebody like Rafael Nadal, I feel like that's just like just kind of a kick in the pants. Don't like it. Can't support it.
And you're right. I mean, that's hard. I've had somebody send me a couple of Cubans a few times. I looked up the prices. And there's no way I would rather buy a unicorn than some of the cost of these cigars out in the Cuban market. So I agree with you. It's not a fair comparison to call a cigar that the vast majority of the population that reads the magazine can't get. And that's one of the things I really love about your list. And it's one of the reasons why I actually do try to make sure that I find every cigar off your list, because I know it's new. If I haven't had it, then I need to try it, and it's easy for me to get. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's crazy is even if you're just looking at cigars that were released in 2022, just those, it is extremely, and we don't even smoke them all. I mean, we try to, but you can't, right? I mean, there's cigars that we didn't get our hands on.
I can barely add all the cigars to Dojo Verse that come out every year.
Yeah, and so,
yeah, Jordan, we got to talk about that. No, I'm just
I'm literally constantly adding cigars.
But
it's insane.
So we do have one added advantage for us, I think, that really helps, and that's the Dojo Verse itself is we have this massive community of people that are smoking, so we do get to kind of see the buzz around certain cigars. And so towards the end of the year, like October, we start scrambling, Ryan, to get, we didn't try that, we didn't try that. In fact, on our list this year, was it number 8, Casa Magna, Connecticut?
Yes.
So Casa Magna, Connecticut, that's one that we tried at the show, but you're at the trade show, you don't really think much of it. And that was one that we bought in October or November, and we kind of like, we got to try everything, make sure we're not missing anything, not missing one that deserves to be in the list. And that's one that made it late into our list because we got it. And
we can't stop smoking.
We can't stop smoking that cigar. It's affordable. It's very consistent. Is it crazy complex? No, it's not. But it's just really solid Connecticut with really warm toasted marshmallow flavors and just everything you want in a Connecticut.
Bismarck donut
and
custard.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I get.
And so the point is, we try really hard not to miss. We try really hard not to miss anything, especially ones that have some buzz. We know that guys are liking it. that kind of thing. So hopefully people end up liking the list. Obviously there's going to be some people, people disagree. That's fine too. That's the part of the fun of it when people disagree, because cigars are subjective. So
What?
I heard Steve Saka say one time that there's like 100 or 200 potential cigar companies that start up or try to start up pretty much like every year, to an extent of, hey, I'm releasing a cigar. Somebody you always talk to in the industry is, I'm releasing a cigar. So how do you guys pick the cigars that you do smoke? Because there is a wide swath in the boutique world of cigars that you guys probably never even heard of, or so how, when somebody says, well, what about this one? I really like this one. Do you just look at them and go, well, I don't even know what that is?
Well, I mean, obviously we can't get to them all, but it's a mix of, if we happen to have a good interaction with somebody at the trade show, maybe, or sometimes they just send them to us, or the Dojoverse helps a lot with that as well. You get to trust guys' palates on there, and if they're into something, then then we'll give it a shot.
But we also, Ryan, we don't there's like tons of like these really small, like regional brands that you've never heard of. I'm not saying that we would never put anything like that on there, but it's not very likely, because again, that sort of defeats the purpose of our list. Our list is sort of like national released stuff that you could go into pretty much any brick and mortar and get, or at least online. And so, if you have some brand in Idaho that's kind of popular around that region, is probably not going to make our list. And I'm not saying that's impossible, because what if it was just a lights out cigar? Okay, maybe, but not very likely.
That's when we have like spaces on the list for under the radar cigar of the year.
Sure. And to answer Bruce's question, Bruce, I am not going to push or pry for any spoilers. If you want spoilers, I tell you what, wait 24 hours from now, and you can press play on YouTube and join in and get all the 1, 2, and 3s off the list that you want.
So far, Bruce, we've announced 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and 4. Tomorrow night we'll announce 1, 2, 3. We'll also announce the top 5 limiteds, and then we'll also announce the 5 exceptional awards, which are under the radar, value priced, luxury cigar, brand of the year, and then there's a one category we haven't announced yet, just kind of keeping it secret. But so we'll announce all those tomorrow night.
Now, do you guys ever do a Dojoverse top 10, meaning the most cigars checked into that year, regardless of when those came out?
We used to, before Dojoverse, our side kind of voting thing was Cigar Wars, which still exists, but more guys are checking in on Dojoverse nowadays. And with Cigar Wars, we would actually compile that and then have like a separate show where we usually would have Steve Saka come on with us and do sort of a different top 10 on that. But now with Dojoverse, it's just happening live all the time. You can go to Dojoverse and you can go to the leaderboard and you can filter the top cigars by the day, the week, month, and all time.
And that's I know I haven't been as adamantly on Dojoverse as I've wanted. I've kind of taken a step back from the social media, but that's picking back up. I'm going to be back on all over it, 5-6 posts a day, like I normally did. We actually have somebody tonight from Sydney, Australia, smoking a Partagas D4. Thank you so much. I don't know what time it is over there, like 6 a.m.
That's one of the better Cubans right there.
Yeah, baby.
So as you guys are compiling these lists and kind of going through all of this, how much time, and I'm only asking this so people fully understand that it takes a lot of time to do this, but how much time throughout the year are you devoting? Is every cigar being categorized by you guys with like a list throughout the year where you break it down by quarter? and then this was my favorite cigar in the first 3 months, second 3, and then you compile like that.
You're
How do you guys
way
do
more
that?
organized than we are. You know, we're more just, we're keeping a note in the back of your mind throughout the year. The trade show is when, you really start paying attention. But then around, I'd say October, I'll come out with a spreadsheet of what I think are the possible, contenders, send it to all the guys and let them add in their own ones. And then the voting voting and arm wrestling kind of goes on from October till a few weeks ago.
So when you say all the guys, how many people are on your if you could share that number, how many people are contributing to these picks?
This year it was 7. So we got us 2, we got Randy,
Scotty.
we got Kevin Acuff, we got Chad, we got a couple of studio audience guys, Scott and Matt Hall. I think that's 7, right?
So then do you guys go back through the list and smoke all those one more time, or do you guys just go off of memory at that point?
In the last few weeks, we'll once the list starts to materialize, we'll re-get all those cigars and put them up against each other.
Yeah, we're doing all kinds of cross testing. Like the other night, I won't say which cigars. This is maybe 3 weeks ago. We were really having a battle between the limited edition, like 3, 4, and 5, and almost nobody agreed on any of those. And so it was really just almost like a debate, it's like a point counterpoint. I know this, that, and so eventually we just have to
win those.
We just have to, battle it out until we feel comfortable with it. And sometimes you have to concede. Okay, I'm willing to let that one drop to 5, or whatever, that kind of thing. So at some point you have to make the decisions. And every now and then, like one will like the HVC Selection number 1, which was our number 5, right?
It's a dang good cigar.
That cigar kept moving up through the list. Like it wasn't even in the top 10. And then all of a sudden, after we got a box, we're smoking them all the time and kind of going through it. And then all of a sudden it's at 10, and pretty soon it's at 7. And the next thing we know, it wound up in 5th spot. So like, it took smoking it more and more and more, and we just fell in love with that cigar.
So what was the deadline for cigars that year to be considered?
Tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. We say that if it comes out in December, that's it's probably not going to make it. But that isn't a hard and fast rule. Like if it comes out in 2022 and we've had enough of them, we'll consider it. But usually it's the one, usually it's December, like, because we have to have time to.
I mean, you have to kind of consider it because we're not going to consider it for the next year's list.
Right.
It came out at the end of December. So that's one of the reasons we used to do our list in late December,
like a lot of the other guys do.
And then we moved it up to January 1st. And then nowadays, it's for the last few years, it's been 2 weeks into January, so that, if there was a late December release, you could still have enough time to, check it out.
That doesn't make us very happy when companies do that, though.
Right. And they better be sending you that box if they're considering.
And that is another point, is all we pretty much we go buy all of these. We don't rely on companies sending them to us, because then that sort of feels like it just kind of makes us feel a little icky that if they're sending it to us. And by the way, companies really don't send cigars out anymore anyways.
No, they don't.
They used to, man. Back in the day, sometimes I would literally get sick of opening boxes. We got sent so much stuff.
Oh, we do multiple giveaways every week.
Oh yeah, and nowadays companies don't do that, so we just go buy boxes of the cigars ourselves, and that's how we get our samples.
So, last question on the list: who has override say in a tie, or if somebody doesn't agree with it, can either you, Eric, or Jordan, who has the override to be like 2 or 3? I'm going to say 3. End of story.
I think that's you.
I think we
don't.
I think we're pretty cool
almost
to each
never
other
disagree.
about that. Like sometimes I'll let Jordan, because if he feels strongly about it, then I'll just back down and say, you know what, I'm cool with that. Other times I feel really okay. Here's a good example of that. Just last year, when we had the Ferio Tego, Jordan loved the Generoso and I loved the Elegancia, and so we went back and forth on that, and then ultimately, Jordan sort of said, "Okay, Elegancia, you feel strongly about it, so you take that." But then this year, and I can't say what it is yet, but I know in our limited list, there's at least 2 cigars on there that Jordan felt super strongly about, and I just said, "Okay, you feel really, really strongly about it, and I don't feel super strongly about it, so you just place those." But you do bring up a good point, Ryan. After we have all the panel vote on these things, even that, we don't just take the raw results. We do finagle that list and argue about it too. Because ultimately it has to reflect Jordan and myself.
Yeah, you gotta give it the dojo
and
flair.
So now that isn't to say that we ignore our panel.
Otherwise, you can just go on Dojoverse and you can see the raw data right there. That's what the people like.
So we finagle it down to where what we really think is the best 10, and we go from there. And you know what? It's funny. It's like every year, some years you feel better about the list than other years. I can't even just explain why that is. I guess maybe it's the cigars that came out that year. And like this particular year has a really, really strong top 3, Other years you feel like, man, the whole list was strong, like 1 through 10. And I'm not saying that the ones that aren't in the top 3 this year aren't good cigars. I'm just saying each year has its own personality. And not that long ago, Ryan, since this past summer, since this was our 10th year, we went back and took all of our lists, all of our top 10 lists, and re-ranked them against each other. And it's so interesting, Ryan, because so many cigars fell way, way down. Like we were like,
when we do it, I put every cigar in the low 90s.
Yeah, Jordan's always like, how should this one be? That's at least 90. No, Jordan, they all can't be 90. But the truth is, and then other cigars like moved way up. Like maybe it was number. So what we did was we had imagine 10 lists, and they all have 1 through 10. So all of the 10s start out as in the 90s. All of the 9s start out in, and they just all the way down. So, but then we re-rank those, and based on how we like them now and how we feel about those cigars now. Some of them completely fell out, out of favor, and you'd say I wouldn't even.
We re-ranked it like 3 or 4 different ways. We did that all the 10s versus each other, all the 9s versus each other, etc. And then we each did all the years versus each other again. So now you have each year's top 10 against. You just re-rank that year's top 10. And then we also each did the entire 100, I think, and then just like compiled all that together. I was gonna like make a post about it, but then we were like, if like somebody was, it was so cool that they got Cigar of the Year, and now we're gonna be like, oh, actually, now you're in 30th place.
It's 45th.
I don't know.
Now, have you guys ever considered doing like a Dojo Hall of Fame for people that make the list most frequently?
Well, that is one of the things that Jordan was going to do in that article, was sort of like point out this factory has been in it this amount of times. And
I think instead of doing what we were just talking about, re-ranking and everything, I'm just going to make like a new page on the site that you can just see all the data. I'll just compile like, oh, here's a series of cigars that's happened to show up on our list the most often. Just interesting points. This company showed up, on every single year, that kind of thing, without re-ranking them.
You know what you should do is work with Abe to come up with a 10-pack, so 100 cigars for the last 10 years that somebody can buy. The entire Dojo top 10 list for the last decade. I think that would, I don't know how many people can afford it, but that would be like a good way to NFT that.
Yeah.
Or even just one cigar from each year and just do a 10-pack.
Yeah, a lot of those cigars don't even exist anymore. So
no, that's the other thing. So when people say, well, what happened? So the cigar that you guys choose doesn't have to be a legacy company. It doesn't have to, you guys don't care that it's a company that may not be around in 5 years.
Well, we don't know that. So there's no way of predicting that. I mean,
you're master sensei, Eric. You have a crystal ball. I've seen it.
For instance, in our very first list, which by the way, we didn't have tight rules that year, so there were a couple of limited editions on our regular list, and one of those was the Room 101 One Shot One Kill, which is a fantastic cigar, but there's no way in the world you could ever get your hands on that.
We had like 2 or 3 limited editions.
Wasn't the Apocalypse in that as well?
Apocalypse was in there.
Yeah. So stuff like that, that's just long gone.
Well, maybe we'll see a Dojo #1 cigar over the last decade sampler pack at Smokin'. I would love to see it because I personally would buy that.
That would be cool.
And I think you would get a lot of people that would buy that.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what we do, Ryan, already, what we do is every year we have a Smokin' sampler, which has 5 of the 10 from that year, and that will happen tomorrow night as well. As soon as we announce the #1, that'll go on sale at Smokin'. There's 5 of the 10.
Last year we didn't have the #1 cigar in the list. This year it's in there. So that's cool.
So let me ask, the question in my head sounded good, and then I went to go say it, and it sounded bad. So what are some predictions that both of you guys see in 2023 happening with the cigar world, changes over the Corona boom that's now kind of coming back down a little bit? So what are some Dojo 2023 predictions, as well as what are some cigars that you guys know of that are being released in 2023 that you could talk about that you're looking forward to trying?
Oh wow, there hasn't been a ton of announcements yet. I mean, obviously
there's that knuckle sandwich Connecticut I want to get my hands on.
That looks good.
Yep, that looks really good.
We don't know for a fact if the Padron Fuente collaboration
that's the biggie,
will happen this year or not. We hope that it will, and we hope that we could get our hands on it. I don't know that we would be able to. That would be amazing. I'm looking forward to there's some companies like Caldwell, for instance. He seems to be refocused and has changed the structure of his company and what they do. And man, some of the stuff that they've done lately, it kind of feels like a rebirth for Caldwell. I'm excited about what they're doing. Obviously, HVC with their new factory, that's exciting. I can't wait to see more stuff come out of there. It'll be interesting to see with what Justin does with Matt Booth now being part of General. Will they come up with something that catches all of our attention in 2023? I think they kind of have to, right, Jordan?
Oh yeah.
Now, when you say Justin, can you let everybody know who you're talking about?
Yeah. Mike?
Justin Andrews.
Yeah, I couldn't think of his last name
That's
first. I was thinking Justin Williams
Diesel.
from the LA Kings.
Hockey on the brain.
Hockey on
So
the brain.
Booth is getting into hockey now.
How are
So,
the Avs doing?
I think it's tie 1-1. Justin Andrews. Sorry, Justin. I love that guy. Justin Andrews. He's kind of the guy now at General that's kind of really doing a lot of the
fun stuff.
With
he's a
And
good
the
General.
diesel
Dude.
line. That's where he started.
Yeah.
Was the
Yep.
diesel line.
Yeah, and he is a freaking great guy, by the way.
Yeah.
He's one of the coolest dudes in the industry. And so I feel like he has a good pulse on the industry. And so I feel like, General could be in good hands, although really haven't done much for a while that has been exciting. They do stuff all the time. They're always releasing cigars. But I kind of feel like maybe this will be the year that maybe they do something with Matt Booth that's a big splash. I know Altadis has a new factory in Punta Cana, huge factory. So maybe there'll be some cool stuff coming out of there as well. Although they do so much with AJ, and then AJ with the that new farm, like maybe there'll be some more stuff coming out of there. The golden soil.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see more like true celebrity collaborations after Espinosa and Guy Fieri kind of led the way on that. I mean, I know there's been celebrity cigars every year, but this is kind of
It's a different animal.
Yeah, different animal. So maybe we'll see some more stuff along that line.
Yeah. Now let's touch on that, because you and I, the three of us have talked privately about this, and kind of want to get into us a little bit as far as you guys' thoughts. What do you guys think of celebrities just because they're celebrities coming out with cigars? And I'm not saying Espinosa and Guy Fieri did that, because completely different beast in that. Fieri dumped himself entirely into that project, both going to shops, going to TGS, doing releases. So that's a completely different ball game as far as how they're doing it. But do you guys get giddy when you see a celebrity release a cigar?
No. No, because just history has shown that 98% of the time they're really just throwing their name on it, and they're not going to support the project. They're really not that involved, and that's where a guy like Eric Espinosa comes in, because he was able to make that an actual collaboration where telling Guy, like, hey, look, like you have to, I don't even want to do it with you, Guy, because, and then Guy's like, why? I can do it. He's like, no, because you have to be involved. And he's like, oh, I will be involved. And Eric's like, you don't understand what I'm talking about. Like, you really have to be.
You got to work on your Espinosa, bro.
You got to be involved.
A little more like this.
And so he was able to get Guy to be completely, involved in the project. And I don't see many other guys being able to have that kind of sway. Eric's alpha dog, and he made it happen.
Right. Well, I don't get fanboyish about celebrities anyways, but there is something to be said about a celebrity that's, in the food industry that makes it a little more interesting as well. That you might trust, like, oh, well, he's got a good palate, right?
Right.
No, that's very true. Where he says, I'm tasting this, you could probably take that a little bit more serious. So I ask that question to roll into this question. What does it take for Dojo to agree to a collaboration? Because you guys have to be, I don't know, what's your tally up to now for shelf yearly releases, meaning that you have Dogma Dojo, you have that I could go to the store and buy. What do you guys have?
Still?
Yeah.
So you can buy
Bonsai.
at Smoker Friendlies. You can
Sarsaparilla.
buy Espinosa Sarsaparilla at your local shop, and of course the two different Dogmas. And now I think
Imperial Stout Barrel Age was regular production, but
not anymore.
So what does it take for a company that approaches you guys and says, I want to do a collaboration with you? Because it's got to happen quite a bit, right?
Yeah, so most of them we say no, and that isn't no. I'm not even trying to be a dick. I'm just saying we say most of the time we say no because, for one, almost all of these are one of our advertising partners. So we do this as a promotion. So it's a retail partner that advertises on Dojo, and it's a manufacturing partner that advertises on Dojo, and then we come together to do this to help promote each other. You know, we help promote Espinosa. Espinosa helps promote, let's say it's JR Cigar, you know, like with the psychedelic turtle. And then so we're all promoting each other and coming up with something fun that the Dojo verse community can break up their year and get to have a fun release and try a new cigar. So when companies come to us, and it happens very frequently, you know, we're like, hey, I'm sorry, we don't really do projects without that, you know, because this is like a promotion. Sure. And so but that isn't always true, because protocol we do because we're buddies with Juan, and we love Juan and Kevin. They don't advertise on the Dojoverse, so we do make exceptions to that rule.
Well,
But
they do the Dojo whereby.
Yeah, if Padron wanted to do a collab, I mean,
yeah, we'd figure it out. We'd figure out a way.
You'd make time on the calendar.
Here's the honest to God truth, Ryan, and is we ever since we started doing this, and there's how many, like 24, 25 collaborations
26.
now? 26 collaborations now. We have never ever once just said, okay, just we'll just put a band on that cigar that you already do. You know, every single collaboration we do, we want to help with the blend. Not that we're blenders, because we're not. We are definitely not. But we want to help guide the blends. We want to pick. We want to say, oh, send us these 5 blends, and okay, we like 1 and we like 3.
This Ninjarago right here is like a 3-year blending process.
Yeah,
on
it
this
was.
guy.
That was, and
we started that
amazing.
one with a cigar safari group. Went to Drew Estate with Dojo guys, and then they take you to Hoya as well. And so those guys helped us pick like the base blend that Hoya then did like 3 variations on, sent us those. Then we tested and we said, oh, we like this one. Then they sent us like 3 off of that one that we liked. And then we just kept doing that, like to the point where they were like, all right, guys, just release it.
But we did come up with a blend that is awesome.
Oh,
yeah. But I guess my point on all that is we want these, like, you know, there's like a lot of these companies, Ryan, that are coming up with, you know, they have a cigar every week, right? That they're coming out with,
Yes.
You know, Daisy Dukes or whatever, and that kind of thing. And that's fine too. Obviously that works for them. That's great. But that isn't what we want to do. What we want to do is come up with something really special each time. And that's why each one of these releases usually takes us about a year to do. And most of the time, with few exception, Jordon and I actually do like the branding, come up with the name, the artwork, all that kind of stuff. There are some exceptions to that. Obviously, Dogma is an exception to that. But we want it to be our project and something cool for the Dojoverse community, the guys to get to try and have a good time. Something that they can kind of feel like it's kind of their cigar too, not just, you know, the Dojo. It's the Dojoverse's project.
Yes.
So we all have some ownership in it, you know.
Absolutely. And that's what you guys have done such a great job with around Dojoverse. It's Facebook for cigar nuts, but in my opinion, it's better than Facebook because you're not dealing with all the bullshit. I know Jordon, for anybody that knows Jordon, he is all over Facebook all day long,
Can't get
constantly on it. Can't get enough. His status is always active now.
I'm a Twitter guy, all right.
So I do want to kind of touch on a little bit of Dojo history since Jordon joined us and we were kind of in discussion. But Jordon, I'll ask you the same question that I asked your dad. Does all of this success of Dojo Verse, when you look back, so the question came from originally, I went back into your archives on YouTube and looked at your first couple years worth of videos.
Oh, geez. Sorry.
And why?
I'm so sorry.
The production value is immensely better. And we had talked about how Juan actually did some stuff with you guys as well. But when you first started all this with your dad, did you ever remotely expect that you would get to where you guys will forever be inside of the cigar history verse?
No, not even close. Like it all happened so fast. We had just gotten into cigars like a year or two before that. It was so taboo in our family to smoke cigars or anything at all. Like we had to keep it a secret that we were into cigars for a little bit there. And like all of a sudden it just, we started our little blog that caught on and turned into an app shortly after, and just kind of just all naturally just happened. I would never have thought we'd still be doing this.
So
it's been great.
What was the moment that you and your dad looked at each other and was like, holy shit, this is bigger than we ever thought? Like at what point in time in the beginning stages was that?
Well, there was probably a couple. There was the moment where Abe from Smoking, he kind of discovered us, brought us onto the radio show, or my dad onto the radio show, and KMA. And at that point, when that was like the website taking off, like, oh man, this has got some legs. But then I think the real one was later on that year. At the time, me and Matt, who's one of the audience guys, we were doing a certain amount of reviews. Like, okay, the site can pay you guys if you do this amount of reviews per month, or instead we could come out with an app. And we're like, oh, we got to come out with an app, of course. And once the app actually materialized and people started using it, that was the real moment that was like, wow.
And what year was that? How far in?
Well, that was 2012. So it was in the website came about in like February-ish of that year, and then the app was September, somewhere in the fall.
And when was y'all's first exclusive Dojo release? What was it? And when was your first shelf release, as in normal release, non-exclusive?
So Dogma was the first release. That one we had been doing a tatuaje. We used to do like these brand nights on the app where everyone would get tatuaje, and then that certain night we'd all smoke tatuaje together. And so we were doing a tatuaje night, and Abe was on the event, and it was like somehow that it came up like, you guys could actually do a cigar, and he asked my dad like, well, we could pick anybody you want, and you're like, anybody? And he's like, yeah. And so you're like, oh, Drew's Day. And he's, of course, Abe's like, oh, geez, Drew's Day. And so that cigar materialized. I think like we actually released it like a year to the date after that Tatuaje event. And that was another aha moment, like sold out basically instantly in I think like 6 minutes. And then the first like shelf cigar that we did was I think with the Imperial Stout barrel aged.
You sure Dogma didn't become national before that? I don't remember.
No.
So what makes a Dojo release become a national release? Because that just happened to Sarsaparilla relatively recently, last year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Where Espinosa was. So what makes, because you guys literally sell, I was at your Cigar Fest, Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest party. You sold out of Meshuggah like instantly. There was a line almost down the block of everybody at your party that was buying that. So what makes a shelf release versus a limited release?
So usually it's after a good deal of time, and we feel like a lot of people are clamoring for it, and it just makes sense. We wouldn't want to do it with all of them because we don't really ever want to become a cigar manufacturer, because then we're kind of in competition with the people that we're promoting. So we only do it when it really makes sense. And like, for instance, with Sarsaparilla, Eric Espinoza and I and Jordon, we always kind of joked about that one because it was so popular and everything, and we thought it would be a good one to do, and we planned on doing it for years and years and years, and finally did it. So it's just kind of, there's no rhyme or reason or set rule. If it makes sense, we'll do it. And I'm sure there'll be other ones. There's at least one other one that I can think of right now that has a good chance of becoming, an actual ongoing product and that kind of thing. So we just sort of, if they come to us and say, hey, we'd like to go national with this product, which is what, Drew Estate did with the Dogma, and Camacho did with the Imperial Stout. And then we think about it and say, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Let's do this. But then there's a lot of these other ones that probably that really wouldn't make sense to do. And so it's just a case by case sort of situation.
So as you guys are kind of starting up and going through this and getting your groundwork laid, who was your first show guest?
Oof. I don't know. Might have been.
I know we had Dion way back.
Dion from Illusione?
Yeah.
Obviously, Eric Espinoza was early.
Yeah.
I don't really know for a fact. There was early on a lot of our shows. We just had like guys from the dojo on. We would almost like a whereby type of hangout in a way, and then ultimately it changed into more of like a actual interview type show. But I'm not really sure who the first guest was.
Yeah, because it didn't just like turn into a show one day. It was like just gradually became a show,
Yeah, kind of morphed.
And then all of a sudden you woke up and now you're doing Friday night shows and Wednesday shows. And what was the culmination of you guys doing just the online stuff to Eric had mentioned that somebody said, oh, you guys should just do a live show, but kind of dig more down into that. Were you guys both willing to do a live show? Was that something you didn't want to do that you kind of talked each other into, or kind of what was that back and forth?
I thought it was more like he's always good at like latching on to new technology and like finding a use for it. And
so are you, Mr. NFT.
Yeah, well, I've become that way, I guess. But I mean, I wasn't even involved with the show until I don't know, a few years ago. I was just more like the guy who would share get guys on the show in the background, like sharing the social posts on Twitter and stuff. Until just a few years ago, I actually started doing the producer stuff. So I think it was like originally you were like, oh, Google actually lets you stream live now, so we gotta start doing this.
Ryan, we used to do the show at this Irish bar downtown called Delaney's. Do you remember that bar?
I've only lived here in Colorado for 6 years.
Yeah, you might have when you moved here, it might have just been towards the end of that bar. But there was this really cool Irish bar downtown right next to Coors Field, literally right across the street from Coors Field. And it was a Irish bar that you could smoke in. And we loved that place. It was really, really cool. So we would often go there and do our show. We would just set up in the back there. I'd just have like an iPad, and we get on Google Hangouts and do the show. And I remember one time specifically, there was a bagpipe competition going on inside the bar, and you couldn't hear a word we said. It's just like
great content.
And let me tell you, the bagpiping was not that good. Like it was. Is horrific.
There any bagpiping that's that good?
So there was some moments. We had some struggles to get going, but then Jordon bought this house which had a detached garage, and we slowly started turning it into a studio. And
it's not a garage.
Now it's
a submarine.
It's a Herf submarine, baby. So,
Jordon makes his wife park outside in the winter.
Yeah, what you gonna do? And I'm always like, I got into like woodworking and have all these tools. And like, oh, yeah, I wish I had somewhere to work on with these tools.
If I only had a garage.
So, Jordon, you had said that you only got really involved within the last several years. So, what was that conversation like? Because I know not everybody in the family. First off, you have 3 daughters, if I'm correct, right? You have 3 or 4. You have 6 kids total.
You're talking about me?
No, Eric.
Oh.
You have 6 kids total.
Yeah,
you have
2
3 girls,
2 boys, 4 girls.
2 boys, 4 girls. So obviously the girls have never been up front and center inside of the show.
No.
So what was that conversation like between you and your dad where he goes, I think you need to come aboard?
Well, I started it with him. I mean, I even came up with the name Cigar Dojo.
No, I'm talking about as a producer.
Well, we were always working together the whole time. It was just that my dad was just
doing it
because it was like I said, it was so gradual that, like, you know, he was doing it from the beginning because there was no producing to be done back in the early days, and then all of a sudden there started to be more and more of it, and then there came a point where like he couldn't actually be doing the show and producing at the same time, and then he was like, okay, I need you to do this, so I just started doing it.
I think really the main
that was like 3 years ago, maybe.
No, it was probably longer, but. We had gotten this really high-end production software, and I just could not do it and do the show at the same time. And so I was like, Jordon, we just got to figure it out, man. You got to take over this part of it because I can't do it. And so that's kind of how that happened. It was out of necessity.
And now I get to do stupid sound effects.
Well, you get to come in on the small picture in the center of the screen too.
Well, I never wanted to be. I don't like being on camera, but I'm like, okay, as a producer, like just off on the side, that seems like I could handle that.
Is there any of that bourbon left right there? Or is it gone?
Who are you guys drinking? Willet or Weller? Wow, you guys got the handle of
got a handle of Weller.
The end.
So now anybody that follows you guys knows very well that you are bourbon, whether or not you want to say it, I'm going to bourbon aficionados. Almost
that
the
is
same
true.
scale that you are both wine, or at least Eric is also a wine aficionado and cigar. And so are you,
I'm actually a Zinfandel aficionado. I'm not
okay,
really.
Okay. So the sweet wines.
It's not a full sweet one, but yeah, it's on the, I guess on the, just to the right on the sweet scale. But yeah, I like wine, but yeah, we're really into bourbon. But mainly more as fans.
Yeah, we're just enthusiasts.
Yeah,
hobbyists.
Bourbon enthusiasts.
So what would have been, and I'm not asking for yearly releases because bourbon's a little harder, but what is each one of you's top 3 favorite bourbons and the cigar if you were to pair with that? So Jordon, we'll start with you.
I would probably go with William LaRue Weller Antique Collection. Be my top pick. What would I pair that with? That would probably pair with some sort of I might go with a Corojo. I don't know, maybe like a Reviver.
I was gonna say Reviver, but I
think you need something a little heavier. I'm trying to think of like a little heavier Corojo. I don't know, somewhere around there.
I think I would probably. I know this is a cliche answer, but Pappy 15 year is amazing. I don't care what anybody says. People can call it overrated. I don't care. It's amazing.
Well, it's not overrated when you pay MSRP, baby.
No.
It's only overrated when you buy it for $2,000.
Yeah,
exactly.
$70. Yeah,
and I think a Padron 1926 Natural would be a absolutely perfect pairing with that.
Yeah, I'd pick that one as my number 2. I would say.
Okay,
and then I would say, and then I'll pick an easy to get bourbon. Old Forester 100 is
my last one, by the way.
It's dirt cheap.
Is that a taser?
There we go.
It is.
Yeah, baby.
Old Forester 100,
Mine's almost gone.
dirt cheap. You can get it at any liquor store. I'm gonna put that one, not because it's the next best to Pappy, but I'm gonna mention it just because it's a bourbon that you can get any day of the week, and it's really good and it's really cheap.
Now we are doing like our favorites, right? We're not just doing like.
I know, but I threw that
I'm
out.
just making
My
sure.
favorite cheap, easy to get, easy to get.
Third, I'd probably go the George C. Stagg Antique Collection.
Oh, that's
And then
so
I would-
impossible to get.
I thought that's why I asked. Like it's like our favorite, right?
No, it's your specific
Yeah.
favorite. Your
And then
go-to.
I would pair that one with I'd go Dogma on that bad boy.
Nice.
Nice. Now they're all huge Scotch guys too. So if you bring a bottle of Scotch, you're always guaranteed that you're going to be the only one that drinks it. Just telling you.
One of the guys who's been coming in the studio, lately,
Connor,
he's been bringing some pretty good. He's been bringing over some like higher end barrel proof scotches that are pretty tasty, and Irish whiskeys too. They're in the cask strength range. I'll get down with.
And I've actually brought you guys a few bottles of Accent Oak that you guys have said you've enjoyed as well.
That's good.
So,
Yep. I think we got the rye over there.
Yep. I brought you the rye and the original.
It's good stuff.
Have you guys ever considered putting out a bourbon list with
bourbon list
Flavor Odyssey?
Yeah.
A Flavor Odyssey bourbon list?
The problem with that is like I'm not in tune enough to like I would have like my all-time list, but I wouldn't be like up to date enough to like this was this year's top stuff.
Well, I guess you really don't have to though with bourbon because there's not a new bourbon released every year, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, bourbon you kind of have to get into like the this was this year's release kind of thing. You like this year's antique collection was really good, and it's easier with bourbon too because you can say like, oh look, there's the year right on the label, and there's the proof that was different for this year. Whereas a lot of cigars, like we mentioned earlier, you can't do that because they don't put the box data on there or anything like that. Bourbon, they do tend to, in those higher end releases, like actually you can tell you have this year's release.
Back in the day, we published a few articles, and still to this day, one of the articles that we published is still one of the most viewed articles. It's super old now. We need to update it, Jordan, but I think it was like
Bourbon's under $30.
Best bourbons under $30, and
it's a great list.
And yeah, like that article still gets. We should do another one of those because it still gets a lot of traffic, but it's outdated.
Mentioned
you think
here,
we have Old Forester on there?
Yeah.
Mentioned here, first show of the year, Rocky Mountain Cigar Show. Dojo will update their their 30 under 30 list.
Yeah.
That's what you should call it, unless ESPN has that trademark.
Screw them.
30. That's a lot. That's a lot of work.
This ESPN doesn't know who they're dealing with here. We're gonna take them down.
So that's the other thing too. I wanted to kind of touch on as well is, have you guys run into people being like, "Hey, you can't say stuff like that," or "You can't do stuff like that"? Because both of you guys are very opinionated and very strong-willed. And I think that's why you guys are incredibly successful, is you guys are not seen as a fair weather cigar smoker or fair weather, whatever list you guys put out. But have you guys ever had a point in time where somebody was like, you need to stop? And if so, how'd you handle that? You don't have to list names.
Just Coop. He'll tell us, you're not following your own rules. It says in bylaws, paragraph 3. Like, Coop. No, what would you?
Not really. I mean, I don't really think that so here's one thing, like every single cigar blogger that starts off, almost every single one, I'm sure there's exceptions, but they all want to be like, oh, I'm just going to say whatever. And if I hate that cigar, I'm just going to, we don't ever try to do that. Like just like totally destroying something, I don't think is fair. We try to be relatively objective. I think people can get it when we have a review and just the way we say things. I think you can glean that maybe we didn't really like this cigar, or maybe it didn't perform very well, maybe the construction wasn't that good or whatever, without, you know, really blasting it. Now, we both are opinionated politically and stuff about sports and stuff about movies. And I think that adds some fun and flavor to the conversation. I mean, nobody wants to just have people just be milk toast all the time. You want to have some hot takes, right? So
hot takes on cereal, baby.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. But we
Dojo outtakes release.
Yeah,
that's what we need.
We don't
Dojo
ever want to
outtakes.
totally blast anybody or any cigar or anything like that, because just because we don't like it doesn't mean that somebody else doesn't like it and stuff. But
yeah,
if,
you can let the score speak for itself without having to say like, I hated this thing. You know, okay, it didn't fit your palate. We get it.
So what is one of the craziest stories that you guys are willing to share that's happened over Dojo's span, either with the manufacturer or with the show, that either threw you guys through a loop or were like, I can't believe that happened? And I'm not going to talk about the whole Juan incident where he completely destroyed his foot.
That was great.
that was what I wanted to talk about.
Well, go ahead. You know what? Tell that story, actually, because that is a story that I was actually talking about with Juan today.
Oh, my gosh.
And so please share that story for those of you that don't know. Juan had surgery on his ankle, and we're about to get the story.
Oh, it was crazy. We were releasing Tenure, and we flew out to Philly airport. So here's what happened. Juan wanted to take us around that whole 4 days that we were going to be out there. Like, he wanted to be our chauffeur. And
our cook too.
And our cook and everything else. And God bless him, you know. But Jeff Todd is normally our chauffeur when we go out to Philly. Like, and
he's got a great truck for smoking in.
Oh, yeah.
It just works.
We just kind of have this, you know, we're creatures of habit. We sort of have this routine, and we really, you know, we have this connection with Jeff, and we're super cynical, and we're like three old codgers just making fun of everybody the entire time. So it works out. So I told Juan, I was like, Juan, look, man, I'm sorry, but like Jeff's going to take us around. He's like, oh, okay, well, whatever. And so anyways, we get there, and that night we go to Protocol Studios. The instant we get there, we don't even have time to like take our coats off, and we're on Johnny Smoke's Uncut show for an hour, and then we do our show. And there's a bunch of people. There's 30 people there. Everybody's partying. There's pizza. There's drinks. We're having a good time. Everybody's getting a little sauced up and just enjoying ourselves. But then the evening starts to kind of wear down. People start leaving. And I know Kevin Kythen has one of those one wheels. It's like a skateboard, but it has one big wheel in the middle, right? And the whole time I was like, Kevin, I really want to try that thing. Because I grew up skateboarding, and so did Jordan. So
and it's electric. It drives itself.
It drives itself. You just lean forward and it goes forward. You lean back and it stops.
It's got a gyro sensor in it.
Yeah, it's sort of like a Segway in a way, but more like a skateboard. Anyways, me and Jordan are riding it around. Even Jeff Todd's riding it around.
Oh yeah,
he's doing pretty good. And we're going around. Jordan did drive directly into the wall though and busted the wall in half.
Yeah, I signed that wall.
He instantly put a hole in Protocol Studios wall. So,
but after that, I had the hang of it.
Yeah,
okay?
Was it a head hole or an asshole?
It was the skateboard hole. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you flew the skateboard forward.
Exactly. So by the end of the night, Juan had tried it a couple times, and let's just say Juan isn't exactly, you know, Bam Margera on the skateboard, and he's doing the best he can or whatever.
He's Bam Margera nowadays.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if you've seen that dude lately.
Oh my gosh, that is so good.
And so now there's like only like 5 or 6 people left. Everybody's gone. And for some reason, Juan tries just one more time. And he literally rides maybe 4 feet.
Yeah.
4 feet tops. And I'm right behind him. Like I'm literally right behind him. And he falls backwards and kind of falls to the ground. And I didn't think much of it, like when it happened. And then I look down and I can tell he's in pain, but I thought maybe he hurt his back or something. I look down and his right foot is literally just it's pointing the opposite direction. He just broke it completely in half, his leg. And it was just pointing the opposite direction.
In a funny way, though.
And that's not
guy, supposed to happen, right?
Well,
no,
it was
it
was funny because he wasn't in pain, so you didn't feel bad. He was joking about it too. And he was even like, he was in such little pain that he was like trying to like fix it with his other foot, like his other foot, like he's like pushing it in the right direction. Like, on, don't mess with it. No.
We're good.
So somebody there, one of the guys there was a police officer. No surprise on that, right? And called 911. They brought the ambulance out. And then, so to bring the whole story around, it's a good thing that Juan wasn't our chauffeur that weekend, because we wouldn't.
Out of commission.
He was completely out of commission.
Yeah,
was it right or left foot? Because if it was right foot,
it was his right foot
for sure. Okay, so he was out of. If it was left, you could have still made him drive you around.
I kind of thought he might still show up somehow, but
poor guy.
No dice.
We love that guy. He's the greatest guy in the world. Unfortunately, now he's doing good now. He's got a boot on there, and he's slowly healing.
The paramedic was like, "Ooh, I've never seen one like this."
This is what half a bottle of liquor does to you, and that's why I don't drink tequila. I'll be very honest with you, because tequila makes me feel like I am 19 and my body is like you're not. So I don't drink. Scotch
I don't
makes
know.
me feel old. And
I don't know if
bourbon makes me feel old.
Everyone says that about tequila. I feel like it's just like everyone drank really bad tequila in college, and you just have that memory with you. Like, I don't know. You have some good tequila. It's fine.
Yeah. Hey, Ryan, not this past summer, but last summer, we went on a mezcal kick.
And I had the hardest time getting into it, but I dig it now.
Yeah, there's some good funky mezcal out there.
Yeah. So I recently. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Jordan.
Oh, no.
I recently learned the difference between mezcal and tequila.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Mezcal is real tequila, and tequila labeled tequila is just whatever.
Well, I think it's like all tequila is mezcal. Like tequila is just a varietal, and mezcal can take into account any of the agave varietals. So it can there's much more complexity. It could be any of the seeds, you would say, like in comparison to like tobacco. Mezcal could be any of them, whereas tequila is just that one specific
blue agave
seed.
I have actually sworn off beer, and you know what the great thing is I can drink like crazy right now, and I don't have to drive home from your studios, and I get to
all right.
Because I remember the first time Eric was like, when I came up, Eric's like, "You okay to drive?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm good." He goes, "No, seriously though, you okay to drive?" I'm like, "No, I'm good."
Well, luckily at Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest, you had a ride.
I did. So
you were freaking hammered.
I was gone. And in fact, my ride decided to show up at 3 a.m. at your house for his bottle, his water bottle.
Oh my God. Yeah,
so, he's getting wild.
You were feeling good.
We've had
night.
to tone down the parties.
Yes,
A few years ago, there was like keg stands going on and beer pong and flip cup, and
we had to
start kicking guys out at 11.
It was getting a little out of control.
So when was the first dojo pre-Cigar Fest party? And then we'll get into the lightning round. When was that? What was that like? And what has been the transformation of what it has become?
Yeah, it's probably like 6 years ago, maybe or so. I think it might have been. It was the year that Tommy Lazuka and Eric Espinoza killed it in cornhole. I think that was the year that really kicked things off, isn't it, Jordan?
I think so. And that was the cake stand year. I thought that was like 4 years ago.
No, it was at least, well, I don't know. But yeah, it's probably been 5 years or so. And really what it was we do our show on Fridays. And so we thought, oh, this is perfect. There's a bunch of guys in town, for Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest. We'll have them come into studio and do a big show with a bunch of cigar guys. And then eventually we realized that doing it on Friday night is too close to the event because guys have other stuff going on. So then we moved our show to Thursday and then decided, hey, let's just make it an event. And so then it's just been getting bigger and bigger. And then a couple of years ago, we added the brewery tour, which we do on Friday, a Flavor Odyssey brewery tour. We rent a couple buses and we go hit a bunch of breweries around town, which is an absolute blast. And then last year we added the Camacho Berger battle at the hotel up there in Broomfield. So now we have another event. So there's 3 events that we produce ourselves leading up to Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest.
And all those events, everybody, if you actually want tickets, you better buy tickets the second they're fucking released.
For Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest, yeah.
God, yes. And your Camacho, the beer, all that was sold out very, very quickly this year.
Well, we don't sell tickets to our event or the Camacho thing. Anybody can go to the Camacho event. That's just open to the public. Our event here at the studio is invite only, but if you're a Dojo Verse member, obviously you're going to be invited. The brewery tour is super limited because we're only getting 2 buses. So however many people can fit on there.
I think we're doing 3 this year, right?
Yeah, it might do 3 this year because it sold out so fast. And that's like $40 or something to go on that one, but it's totally worth it because you get
a shirt.
Not only that,
and
but
a ton of beer.
Like Lazuka and Terrence Riley, they're like buying all the beers.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to even buy any beers. You get on there and you just have a good time. So yeah, it's amazing.
We might try to throw a sampler pack in this year from all the guys that are sponsoring it. It's going to be fun.
Since everybody from Dojo Verse is invited, let's get 27,000 people at Jordan's house next year. I think we might have to have a block party where only one house has the block.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Well, it's actually, we do have to sort of be careful because a lot of guys are like, oh, I got 4 people. We're like, no, you can't, you can't bring 4 people. You can come maybe a +1, but that's it. Because, I mean, let's face it, there's a limited amount of space here. And we fit a lot in. There's a lot of people there, but yeah, we got to be kind of careful.
Well, you guys were so kind to allow me to bring my buddy Jeff up to the Dojo studios, and he had an absolutely fantastic time. He was absolutely giddy, being like, "Oh my gosh, I'm talking to Dojo guys! Like, I can't believe it." So and so I want to touch on a couple questions here. Skip half I can't pronounce
Skip Halfwheel.
I'm so sorry, Skip. Just bought a box of LFD Indonesian Bull for $130. Do you think that's a good price?
Yeah. That's $13.
I think that's a great price.
Oh, heck yeah.
Sounds like a great price.
They're $20 a cigar in Colorado. So,
and look,
if you could find them,
that is a great cigar. Like
it is.
Yeah. Okay. There's always this. Oh, this is the cigar of the year. It's overrated. No. That cigar. That was a good pick. That was a good pick.
That was their best pick.
That was a good pick by Cigar Aficionado. That's a fantastic cigar. I bought a box of those at Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest, actually, Ryan, because LFD did the pool party after the event a few years ago, and they had boxes of them there. And I just recently
most of the time you just can't even find them. So if you can find them, usually that's good enough right there. But at that price, get out of here.
Great purchase, brother. Good job.
I think that's a hell of a deal. I found one Indonesian Bull at Stag Tobacconist, and it was like $22. And I bought it, and the guy's like, "Well, we're out for 6 months, so that's the last of that."
Now, if you get your hands on the NFT version of it,
So that spin wheels into my next question here before the wrap up lightning round that I definitely wanted to touch on. With Abe coming out with a very some kind of an NFT that he hasn't fully announced yet, publicly at least, do we get to see a Trump style Eric superhero and Jordon superhero NFT card coming out 2023?
We actually considered doing not a cigar NFT, but just like regular NFTs of all of our cigars.
It'd be fun.
It would be. We would only do it. We would literally, if we do this, it's only going to be like for fun because I don't want to. We're not in. I don't think, at least not yet. But LFD did that right. I mean, they did an amazing job. Good on them. But that's a different level of stuff that I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like the way they did it, there's only 6 guys that have to know how to buy an NFT for the whole project. Like, I think some of the cigar smokers are kind of intimidated. Like, oh, how am I gonna smoke this thing? I don't even know how to get an NFT. Like, no, the shop bought the NFT. Now you just buy the cigar from them. It's cool. But yeah, like once you're getting into teaching guys how to, get a crypto wallet and all that kind of, it's gonna be a nightmare.
Plus, with the way crypto went this year, you might end up owing money if you get an NFT.
So you wouldn't believe my taxes.
So then,
a night.
Yeah, I'm sure, because Jordon, for those of you that don't know, is very heavily. He's got an NFT shoe that he hikes in, or digital shoe. He is all about the crypto side. So I'm going to absolutely be a liar here and say I have one more question before lightning round. Do we get to see any type of NFT coming from Dojo in the next couple of years?
An NFT?
Yeah, just because of how active you are involved in it, do we get to see that as for fun?
Yeah, maybe. It like he was saying, it would probably just be something silly, like our, like an image of our exclusive releases we do or something like that. I would like someday if, we could change Dojoverse to be where right now you get your belts, you get you're earning through your white belt all the way up to the black belt. And as well, you're also earning badges based on what you smoke. So you smoke a lot of Nicaraguans, you get the Nicaragua Ninja badge or whatever. We have badges for all kinds of stuff that you're participating in on the app. It would be cool if someday those were NFTs. I think people have this idea of NFTs as like they have to be valuable and they have to be, art. But there's tons more use cases for NFTs. They could be the keys for your car someday. They could be, They could replace the badges that you have on the Dojoverse. That would be cool.
I need some more bourbon. Hold on.
Go ahead. It's a far walk. The studio they have there is massive.
Oh yeah, it's under the sea. It's a submarine.
If we get Eric back before the end of the show, I'll be happy. All right. So now we get into the lightning round section. I ask everybody, what is between Jordon and Eric? So what is both of y'all's favorite cut? Eric, we'll start with you.
My favorite cut
of cigar. Straight cut.
Punch, yeah. I'm a straight cut guy, and I'll tell you why.
Joe.
I like I like the taste of the tobacco on my tongue, and so the straight cut allows me to taste the tobacco. And my second favorite would be V cut, because you can still kind of do that. My third favorite would be the punch.
Yep. Have you seen the new baller cut that I forgot what company it was that released it, but it's like it takes like a punch, but it gouges out like an ice cream scoop.
See, we're just
Getting too crazy.
we're
Come on, just cut the thing and smoke it.
We're overthinking this. Have you tried the new Zycar Revolution?
I have not.
It's literally impossible to use. Zycar makes the best cutters in the world, no question.
Oh yeah,
but not that one.
Yeah, I'm the same.
What about you, Jordan? What's
I
your
go
favorite
straight cut. Let's keep it simple, and I do like the taste of the tobacco on the tongue. I'll go V cut on box press or like an oval kind of shape, like a dogma. I'm not the biggest V cut guy. Just like too much fiddling around. Like I don't know, it feels too weird in my mouth. I find myself fiddling around with it too much. Like just
too phallic-y?
Just keep too weird. All right. Yeah, and then I'm the same way. I'll go punch third. Oh, actually, I might even do like an Eric Espinosa, like Cuban style.
Just bite the end off.
Yeah.
Speaking of Zycar, look at it now. See this? This is a Zycar that Jordan won for when you got this for no. This is a sweet Zycar, man. Now this is where Zycar kills it. Zycar,
regular old XI.
This thing's great. So I had to give him some love because I was kind of mean to him a minute ago. I apologize.
Well, even the XO is cool.
Yeah, very cool.
What is y'all's favorite rapper? Jordan, we'll start with you on this. Now you can give me musician and cigar rapper if you want. Two-part question.
Does Beastie Boys? Would you that count as rapper?
Yes.
I'll go Beastie Boys, and then I'll go Corojo because that's saltiness.
Ooh, Corojo's tough to beat.
Eric, what about you?
I do love Corojo, but I'm gonna say Habano just to be different than Jordan.
What?
But I do love Corojo.
What?
I'm sorry, and I'll go Run DMC just to be a little different. Just to be a little different.
Michael Jordan. By the way, I'm asking this question because they're both sports nuts. Michael Jordan, LeBron, or Kobe?
Oh, it's ridiculous.
In what order?
I thought that question was just going to be Michael Jordan? Question mark?
Obviously, it goes Michael Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. I put Nikola Jokic in front of LeBron.
Or are we talking about like who you'd want to hang out with?
No, we're talking about the top three of those three best basketball players ranked. How would you go that order?
Jordan, LeBron, Kobe.
Oh, you go Kobe after LeBron?
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
That's not, I don't even think that's up for debate, is it?
Yes, it is.
I watched Shaquille O'Neal once in a interview with some younger guy, and he got upset. He looks at the kid. He goes, "I'm sorry. How many years was it in between Jordan's championships?" Oh, that's right. It was one because he was retired and he won 3 in a row. So 6-peat, more or less.
Did you watch that documentary on Netflix?
Oh,
great.
That was so good. That actually gave me a totally newfound respect for Jordan as a human being. I
think I would hang out with him other than that he likes cigars.
Jordan, he
seems like he'd be a difficult guy to get along with.
He's in the rare.
Well, if you're Allen Iverson,
company.
yes.
Yeah.
If you're Allen Iverson, yes.
You got what? Let's look at the biggies. You got Jordan, you got Gretzky,
Brady,
Walter Payton.
I don't know if I can put Walter in that group. I mean, he's great. I'm talking the upper echelon of the upper echelon. I can only really think of those three.
Well, you got Beckham. If you're going to go soccer,
we don't do that.
Soccer's not a sport.
They're big soccer fans over at Dojo. That's all that's on. World Cup.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite country for cigars? And when I ask that question, I mean, if you know a cigar that you've never had is from one country over another, which country would you choose?
I mean, I like them all for their own unique profiles. but that's the cop-out answer. So I'll give you a real answer, Nicaragua.
That's what I knew.
I think what's funny is like 6 or 7 years ago, people would have said, "Oh, Nicaragua has this certain flavor profile.
Right. Has to be. It's peppery.
It's peppery. It's spicy, cabinet spicy, whatever." Nowadays, that's not really true anymore. There's so much variety coming out of Nicaragua. It's mind-boggling. But Honduras is not that far behind.
Mm-hmm.
Like the stuff that they're growing in Honduras, like the Honduran Cameroon, Honduran broadleaf. I mean, we're getting some really, really cool stuff there. But I agree with Jordon. I'd say for me, it would be Nicaraguan. Then it'd be a really close run between the DR and Honduras. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Ecuadorian Connecticut, and who doesn't love real Connecticut broadleaf? I mean,
yeah.
So I don't want to do a cop-out answer, so I have to say Nicaragua also, as I think is the best country by far with the most variety and the absolute best tobaccos coming out of there right now.
Yeah, like a few years ago, if you wanted a Cuban-esque profile and you weren't going to get a Cuban, you would get a Dominican. But now Nicaragua can deliver that equally as well. I would maybe even better so. So and to your point about Honduras, Jalapa, I would say, is my favorite growing region of Nicaragua. It's got the sweeter side, and all the Honduran stuff is coming just north of that. So that fits my profile as well.
What is your favorite size?
I would go, if I had to pick just one, I would do Corona Gorda.
Okay. And for those that don't know, what's the Corona Gorda size? Because there's like 100 different names.
Corona Gorda is usually like 5 7/8 by 46.
Okay.
I would have normally, I think, like I tend to answer that by saying Lonsdale, but I think I gravitate mostly towards a Toro. Like a 6 by 52 Toro is sort of like the size I think I like the most, even though I want to be bougie and say something else. I think I'd gravitate towards, like, to me, the Reviver, our Reviver, Aganorsa Leaf Reviver is
amazing.
It's a perfect size, perfect cigar.
Yeah, I mean, you also have to take into account, like, the tobacco. Like, if you're getting something from Perdomo, they have such good tobacco that their filler tobacco can be the highlight of the cigar. So in that case, I'm fine with going into the 54 territory. Whereas if you know that another company, the wrapper is really going to be the highlight, then I'll go thinner. For me, like, the Corona Gorda is kind of right in between, a little more of a concentrated smoke, which I like. But yeah, if you know that a company has, like, AJ Fernandez or something, has super good filler tobacco, there's no problem going into the higher range.
What's the official size of a Lonsdale?
Lonsdale is
6 by 46, right?
No, it's thinner than the Corona Gorda.
44,
yeah.
So what is a manufacturer outside of Padron, because we know you guys would make schedule to make that happen, a manufacturer that you guys would love to work with at one point in time?
Well, I mean, obviously, Fuente would be a fun one to do.
You got a Dojo X in the making?
That would be like, hey, I never thought we would do a Davidoff. We did a Davidoff. That was a big moment. Earlier, you asked, like, what was a big moment for us? When we found out that Davidoff wanted to do a cigar with us, that was a watershed moment, for sure. And then this past year, we got to do a Perdomo, which was another watershed moment. Nick Perdomo is one of the absolute studs in the entire industry. Very misunderstood character in the industry, I think. And we're going there in a month, Jordon. We're going to be at the Perdomo factory hanging out. So that's going to be a ton of fun. So, but to answer your question, obviously doing a Fuente would be incredible.
Fuente and Padron, those are the bucket lists left.
Well, Atatawahe, we've been bugging Pete for a long time.
Right.
and he keeps
would be interesting.
He keeps kind of getting excited about it.
On the more craft boutique side, Tatuaje, Illusione,
Dunbarton,
the
Dunbarton.
Dojo Stein. We got to have a Dojo Stein.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Come out for Tatuaje. No, I think the Tatuaje, if you guys were able to do that one, I think that would take off.
No, I think if we did
immensely.
I think if we did a monster series, we'd have to do like Godzilla or like Hydra.
Keep it Japanese, baby.
Keep it Japanese-ish,
So I've never asked this question before because I've never had somebody of legendary status on like you guys as far as interviewers. What was your favorite guest? You don't have to name the show, but the favorite guest that you guys have ever had on.
Oh man.
Oh jeez.
That's rough. Whew. We've had some funny episodes. Seems like, Michael Herklotz is a great guest. I'm going to name a few. Michael Herklotz is a great guest. Terrence Riley is an amazing guest
Fantastic.
to have on because he's just so well-spoken and he knows so much about Switzerland, which is great.
He does.
And
everything else.
But my favorite interviews, Ryan, is when we're lucky enough to have a guy in studio. Obviously we've had pretty much everybody from Steve Saka to Eric Espinoza to, you name them. We've had them here in studio, and those are the most fun because it's just easier. Like when it's right here, like Jordan's sitting next to me. It's a lot harder when you're doing it remotely. But those are the most fun. Like Matt Booth, he's been in studio a couple of times, and
I think not like I think the coolest one that we had that it stands out for me was Michael Knowles from Daily Wire. Like
that's right. You guys
Ben
had
Shapiro,
Knowles
Matt
on.
Walsh, those guys. We had Michael Knowles on.
Yes, you had Knowles on.
That was a ton of fun.
Now that came through the fact that he is. Did that come through the famous partnership that you're the famous?
No,
relationship?
he didn't have them at the time.
Yeah, there was no cigar advertiser at the time. I just noticed that he was into cigars, and so just reached out, and he's a cool dude. Came on.
I've been trying to reach out to him. Jordan, we're going to talk after. I don't know how to get in. I've been in touch with his production team, and my job has been sales for the last 20 years, so I can get through. It's all about getting through doors that aren't supposed to be opened. So we'll definitely chat offline on that because I would.
Who was really good, Ryan, was Rafael Nodal. Like he had the whole audience just riveted when he told his story about coming to the United States. And this one line sticks with me to this day. He talked about how when they risked their lives to escape the communist regime in Cuba, and when he got to the United States, they gave him an apple and a Coca-Cola. And to this day, he loves apples and Coca-Cola. And like when he told that story, like you could hear a pin drop in the studio. It was incredible. Like the whole story was just absolutely amazing.
Well, yeah, I would love to have Nodal on. He's one that I'm hopefully with my greater partnership with Abe and Nodal doing a TGS release. We can do that. Who is what you would predict to be one of your favorite, doesn't have to be the favorite, but one of your favorite up and coming brands in the last 5 years where you're like, they're going to be incredible?
Dapper doing some cool stuff.
Okay. Dapper D Cigars.
No, Dapper Cigar Company.
Oh, yeah. Dapper Cigars. Sorry.
Obviously HVC. HVC is a company that, like, we were like familiar with them like way back. Remember?
Well, because they're older than you'd think. They're 2011.
And it was like, I don't know. Was when they came out with the Serie A in the same year they came out with the 500-year anniversary. And those two cigars blew our minds. And ever since then, I realized Rainier just has a finger on the palette that I like. Right. Like he must like the same things that I like. And And that kind of gets us around to this whole like cigar of the year thing. Like if you find a list or a company that's putting out a list that they review cigars and you tend to agree with them, like that's really valuable. Like, cause you go, hey, I like everything that they like. And it just seems like Jordon, I like everything that Rainier does.
Even when he moves to his own factory.
Yeah.
Or even he came out with a cigar at El Titan de Bronze this year. Like he can, it's not just that it's from Aganor Salif. Like he'll move factories and his palate is what's
Dion. Now this isn't a new one. This isn't answering that question.
His palates.
But Dion's another one.
Right
like
on,
I just know that Dion's palate is similar to mine.
I've been impressed with Black Star Line cigars.
Yep.
What was the one that I reviewed recently? I can't think of the name of it. Lollybella.
Oh God, dude!
Wow, like I had not had a cigar like that out of Aganor.
That was great.
What a beast of a cigar! If you want something like just to keep in your humidor for those times where you want something insanely full-bodied but also full flavored, like it's not going to beat your palate down with like charred kind of flavors. It's full flavored and full-bodied. That Lollybella is like that.
Still my bourbon. What's that Roma craft that's sort of known for being like super strong and full-bodied?
Well, there's one of the Neanderthals is like the HN size or something.
If you're a fan of that, if you're a fan of like that Neanderthal HN, that Roma craft, which is a really good cigar, try that Lollybella, man. It's just so beastly, such a powerful cigar, and but it's also good flavored at the same time. It's fantastic.
No, it's an absolutely, and the updating the band is very nice as well. I love the Lollybella. That's probably my favorite of the Black Star line personally. So, well, we are at an end of the night, unfortunately. So thank you guys so much. I can't appreciate more the friendship, the advice that both of you have given me. I know, like I had mentioned early in the show before you came on, Jordon, whenever I come up to the dojo studio, I'm always like, what's this? What's that? What's this? How'd you do it? What's that? What do you guys use for this? You've always been so kind to open up that stream of advice for me. So from the bottom of my heart, you guys are an inspiration for me. And I truly, truly appreciate both y'all's friendship and the fact that Jordon and I are now officially Facebook friends. So that
I don't even think I'm Facebook friends with him.
That's rare. It's rare.
So thank you so much for both of you spending the night with me. And it was an absolute great time. I had a fantastic time with you guys tonight. And so we'll end the show with some dojo advice. Ooh. So however you want to give that, you guys have the end of the show for some dojo advice.
Okay, Jordon, you go first.
Oh geez. Don't be too technical with your humidor. Like just feel it, you don't have to be checking the hygrometers every 5 seconds. Just put some beads in there and just judge it by the feel of the cigars themselves as you're smoking them.
Very well said. I'll say this, Ryan. Happiness is a choice. You have to choose to be happy. Just choose to be happy. Because here's the thing. There are people that have horrible circumstances in their life and they're still happy. And there are other people that have amazing circumstances in their life and they're miserable. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, happiness is a choice. Just choose to be happy and you can do it. That doesn't mean that makes your life all rosy and everything's gonna, be flowers and lollipops. But if you choose to be happy through all of that, I guarantee that you're gonna live longer and you're gonna have a more fulfilling life. So choose to be happy.
Absolutely. And in ending the show for a little dojo-ness on the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show, thank you so much for everybody tuning in, and never smoke alone. Can we all three do that? Because that would be like a big thing for me.
All right, let's do it.
1, 2, 3. Never smoke alone.
There you go.
Thank you so much for everyone jumping on for the show tonight. This has been a dojo takeover of the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show. Check them out on YouTube, Facebook, Cigar Dojo on YouTube and Facebook. They do their show Wednesday nights for Flavor Odyssey and Smoke Night Live on Friday. Thank you so much to all the sponsors, Abe DeBabna over there, the big man at Smoking Cigars, Axe and Oak, K by Karen, McAuliffe, Christoph, and Axe and Oak. Thank you so much for everybody making the show possible. And until we see you all again, never smoke alone. Have a great rest of your week. Bye, everyone.